with car break-ins. And then we're up 10% in auto thefts. And, also, on NPU-F, which is 212's beat, 51% of the crimes that are occurring are car break-ins. So, property crimes are the issues that we're having. We're doing a variety of details right now with Zone 6, some with Fulton County Sheriff's Office, and then also with Georgia State Patrol to try to get a hold of that issue before the summertime when these juveniles are out of school and they're coming to our area. As far as major incidents on NPU-F, so we had the carjacking at Allure. I'm sure you guys have questions about that. So I'll just discuss that briefly. So we have the carjacking at Allure. Allure is currently going through a due cause. We put a due cause package on them with our license and permits unit. They asked for an extension, and it has been reset to July 12th for their hearing for Allure. And then we had the incident at the Publix where the lady's ring was taken. Our robbery unit believes that the suspect from the Publix where the ring was taken is also the same suspect from the West Paces Ferry public shopping center that I'm sure you all have seen on the news. So they're currently working that case. And then we had another robbery that occurred at the CVS where our crime suppression unit was able to take that person into custody. So there was an arrest on scene for that incident. But that's just kind of a brief overview of Zone 2 and NPU-F. My contact information is in the chat. So if anyone has any additional questions or comments, please email me and I can get back to you.
Okay, Phyllis.
I just wanted to ask which Publix and which CVS were you referring to?
So the Publix at La Vista and Cheshire Bridge. And then the CVS that's right across the street there.
Oh, Lord. Any other questions for the Major? Or for Captain Malecki? I think we're going to let you off easy tonight.
Okay. Well, I'll like I said, my information is in the chat for those that don't have it. Just email me if you have any questions or concerns, and I'll get back to you. Or if you have anything, a specific incident that you're curious about, I can get back to you on it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for all you're doing for NPU-F.
Thank you. You guys have a good night.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here from the city that has a report that they'd like to make?
Debbie, you had a hand raised. I think it was actually for Captain Malecki question.
Oh, okay. I don't know that the captain's still here, but Stephen.
Hey, sorry about that. So is the Zone 6 person gone now?
I don't.
Because I'm here to complain about Friends Bar. I know that's a shocker for all of them.
I don't see him on the list anymore. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think he's gone. I'm sorry, Stephen.
Yeah, thanks, Kate.
I can pass the message on to him. What do you?
That would be great. I appreciate it. And that was very impressive. Thing you just did there, man. That's actually cool. I got a lot of information.
We're having trouble hearing you, Stephen.
Stephen, we can't hear you at all. Captain Malecki left his email in the chat, and you might contact him that way. Okay. Thank you, Major, for offering. Okay, back to any other city officials. I know Officer Ferguson is here from Public Works.
Oh, ATL 311 is also here.
Yes, thank you. Constance, we'll get you after Officer Ferguson.
Okay.
Yes, good evening, everyone. I don't have much to bring to you guys tonight, but I would like to continue to encourage you, if you do have any bulk debris, yard debris out in front of your home, it must be called in, scheduled before the debris is removed. I've been right in the area and I do notice there are piles out and they were brown and they must be called in order for the debris to be removed.
So that's any yard debris? Does it matter how big of a pile it is, or?
No, ma'am, it doesn't matter. It just needs to be reported for it to be removed.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Guess not. Constance Harris, Atlanta 311.
Hi, thank you guys for allowing us to come in. Of course, no major announcements or anything. I just wanted to introduce ourselves to your NPU. For the new people that are come, my name is Constance Harris. I'm the executive assistant to our commissioner, Maisha Good. ATL 311 is the non-emergency call center for Atlanta City Services. 311 is the number that you dial to report things like potholes, water main breaks, questions about your water bill, solid waste services, code violations, traffic light and sign maintenance, general information, and much more. We are open Monday through Friday from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. You can reach us by dialing 311 inside Incorporated Atlanta. Otherwise, you can dial our full number at 404-546-0311. At any time, you can email us, download our mobile app, report issues through our website, or message us on any of the social media sites. We're part of all of them. All our contact information have been placed in the chat. Also, ATL 311 Supportive Services Team has partnered with the PAT Initiative to provide community response services for quality of life concerns related to unmet mental health needs, substance use, or extreme poverty. When a community member makes a referral, the PAT team will travel to that area and attempt to engage the referred individual and connect them to their services. Again, thank you for allowing us to present on tonight. And if anyone has any questions or service requests, work requests that have not been fulfilled, you can give me that information and I can escalate it in the morning.
Debbie, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I
Okay.
can, Stephen, but you just interrupted the meeting, so let's mute you, okay? Okay. Any questions for Constance? Atlanta 311.
I see Ms. Holly.
Is her
Thank
hand-
you,
Oh,
Constance.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Nope, go ahead, Holly.
So sorry, Debbie. Constance, can you hear me okay?
I can.
I have a two-part question. One, within our MLPA, the Morningside Lennox Park community, there's some confusion about reporting repairs for sidewalks. Could you tell me or tell us what applies as far as for the residents, how we can report broken sidewalks to 311?
Well, what is the confusion? Because they should have, if you called it in, they should have given you a service request number and that should have gone to Public Works. And then they should have given you another case number that would have told you when they could come out to repair it.
I
I
guess
know they're a little behind on it, but I didn't think that they were not giving you service request numbers.
that's not the case. I guess forgive me for not phrasing it properly. I think there's confusion as to whether or not people can report broken sidewalks to 311.
Definitely.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be any level of hazard or anything. It's just
Yes. Yes. But the more information you provide, the quicker they'll get out there.
okay. Thank you so
Yes.
much, Constance. I
You're
have
welcome.
one other question, if I may.
Okay.
The Morningside Nature Preserve Suspension Bridge has a very serious hazard that's been reported. One of the steps to the bridge is out. And somebody coming from the opposing direction we've tried to mark it best we can, but I'm so sorry I don't have those service numbers in front of me, but it has been reported. Could I talk to you about this later or?
You can, I'll put my information in the chat
Okay,
and you can contact me tonight or tomorrow. And
Okay.
I will definitely have this escalated for you.
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please raise your hand.
You have Stephen and Nina.
Nina, okay.
Nina.
Stephen?
Hi, thank you, and sorry for interrupting earlier. I thought I'd waited till the woman stopped speaking, but my apologies. So there's a 311 case concerning Friends Neighborhood Bar. Some people tore down all the road signs on the alley behind the bar so they could park their cars there, and they've since been illegally parking there. And a landscaping company came in and dumped 2 truckloads of garbage on the side of the alley. So I'm looking at the case numbers. And I was just wondering, I realize everything's backed up right now. But this was 9 months ago.
Oh, wow. Can you give me that number? Can you put the number in the chat
Yes,
put the
ma'am,
number
I'd
in
be
the chat and I will, and
Yes,
put your
ma'am.
email in there as well. And I'll make sure that we respond to you accordingly.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. That's all I needed to ask. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Nina?
Debbie, thank you for allowing me to ask a question. Ms. Harris, when did the city start repairing sidewalks? I had always understood sidewalks and the upkeep of sidewalks are the responsibility of the property owner. So has there been a change in city ordinance that we're not aware of?
Ma'am, as far as since I've been there and doing this information, giving this information out at NPUs, they do repair sidewalks, but it will depend on the severity of it, because more than likely, if it's like if it's coming up out of the ground and it can cause a hazard, it may be dealing with some more of our underground work, like piping and things of that nature. So we would have to get it fixed.
Okay, well, thank you very much. I'll share that with my own NPU. Thank you, Debbie.
Oh,
You're
you're
welcome.
welcome. Is there anyone else?
There's a Miss K.
Miss K?
This is actually just to clarify for Nina. The city will repair it if it's caused by, for example, a city-owned street tree.
Right.
So it depends on what the cause of the damage to the sidewalk is. They've always repaired them if it's the roots from a city tree in the right of way that's causing the breaking of the sidewalk. But if it's a tree on your property that's causing it, then there have been several attempts to change the policy so that the city is responsible for sidewalks, but basically they don't. The property owner is still responsible.
Thank you, Kay.
No problem.
Anyone else? Okay, I don't see any other hands raised.
Well, thank you, Miss Debbie. It's been a pleasure, you guys.
Thank you, Ms. Constance. Thanks for coming. Are there any other representatives from the city that is here to give a report? So jump in. I don't see anyone else. Then is there any elected official that is here to give a report or to say hello? Okay, I know city council was meeting tonight, so they.
Oh, hello, morning. Good afternoon. I'm here half.
Oh, hey, Jordan.
President. How you doing? Just two quick announcements for today. Budget season is underway right now. So if anybody has any projects or plans you'd like to implement in the budget this year, please reach out to our office or to your elected representative, Councilmember Juan. And with that being said, with Councilmember Juan, on Wednesday, the 18th at 7:30, we are holding a cocktails and conversation. This is going to be connected with the budget. So we're going to go over specific details on what's in the budget plan and other plans going forward. So we would love to have everybody out there and to mingle and get to know everybody. And that's everything from our office this week, or this month.
And what time is cocktails and conversation on the 18th?
It will be 7:30 to 10 o'clock. And it will be at the, pull up the location exactly. It would be at the Steadily Modern Arts Competition.
So do you have an address for that?
Yes, just pulled it back up. Sorry. It's going to be 2197 Irvindale Way, Chamblee, Georgia.
Shambling. That's outside the city limits, isn't it?
I don't know exactly how the location came about. I think it was something that both Councilmember Juan and Council President had prior meetings. They wanted to have like a even location for everybody. So don't know exactly how the location came about, but I think that was the reason. It was prior engagements that day.
Can you put that information in the chat for anyone that might be interested?
Yes, ma'am, for sure.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else that's here from the city or representing an elected official? Okay. Then we're going to move to the next item on the agenda, which is the consent agenda. The consent agenda, as I mentioned earlier, has items where this NPU generally approves with little or no discussion. There is one variance application, V2266. This is at 654 Kimberly Lane. The applicant has requested a deferral. They've revised their plans and are reviewing them with the neighbor. We also have a number of special events on the consent agenda. The first is the Smart Community Fair. Is the applicant present? Smart Community Fair, just jump in if you're here. Okay. Not present. The next is the Freedom March. This is October 29th, 2022. Is the applicant present? Alrighty. The Festival Peachtree Latino, is the applicant present? This is in Piedmont Park Meadow, September 27, 28. Is the applicant present? Not present. The Joining Hearts and Tea of Hearts.
Yes, Jerry's present.
Okay. Thanks, Jerry.
No problem.
Okay. And the ATL Greenhouse. This is a classy event, July 9th through 2022. Not present. Okay. So this is the way it works. If special events are required to be present at our NPU meeting in order for us to take a vote. So I'm going to take off the consent agenda, the Smart Community Fair, the Freedom March, the Festival Peachtree Latino, and ATL Greenhouse. So the only items that we're going to be voting on is the deferral of V2266 and the Joining Hearts and Tea of Hearts event. I know I'm speaking to a small group, but is there an applicant here who wants to have their application discussed at this meeting? Doesn't look like it. Is there anyone here who is in opposition to either of these two events or the recommendations to support Joining Hearts or to defer the variance? Okay, and is there anyone here that's in opposition to these recommendations?
Debbie, you have a hand raised.
Okay. This is crazy. I'm not seeing these hands.
It's Jack.
Oh, hey, Jack. Yeah, Jack, did you have a comment?
I do have a comment. I'm not in opposition to any of these, given that we have already by perforce approved them and are willing to approve them absent objection. I would like, I'm giving notice to the NPU that I would like to propose a change in our bylaws.
Jack, Yeah, that it's not appropriate to talk about it at this point. It's something.
No, it's extremely appropriate. I disagree with you entirely.
No, right
Because I'm
now,
not going to make the motion to change it now, but I want to point out that we are spending a huge amount of time on something we don't oppose or disagree with. And that I will be making a motion to alter that so that our approval.
okay, is there a motion to approve V 2266 and the Joining Hearts and Tea of Hearts event?
So moved.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Okay, all those in favor of approving those two items on the consent agenda, please, please raise your hand.
And Debbie, just to clarify, this is a deferral for the variance and an approval of the.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. And we'll deal with the other ones when we get to them. Okay, I see 21 in favor. I'm clearing the feedback. Is there anyone opposed? Jerry, which, is there a particular, okay. Are you opposed to the, all right, the hand went down. None in opposition, the motion carries. Okay, and for those items, those events that were not present at tonight's meeting, we'll deal with them when we get to the items on the agenda. Next item is the V 2254. This is 826 Virginia Circle Northeast. Is the applicant present?
I am.
Oh, hey, Nana. Okay.
Hi, Debbie. How is everyone tonight?
So the applicant seeking a variance to reduce the front yard setback from 35 feet to 29.5 feet, the half depth front yard setback from 17.5 feet to 8 feet, 3 inches, and a special exception to allow active recreation, the swimming pool and spa in a yard adjacent to a street.
Thank you. This application has been revised with a new referral certificate that I sent to Debbie and to Planning in Virginia Highland. We are no longer needing to request a reduction in the front yard setback because porches, we're proposing to construct a new front porch, can extend up to 10 feet into the front yard setback if the structure is at the required 35-foot front yard setback. So the only two items we're asking for is to reduce the half depth front yard, which is the yard, the actual side yard adjacent to the secondary street, from the required 17.5 feet to 8 feet 3 inches, which is the existing location of the house. And the other request is a special exception to allow active recreation, in this case, a pool with spa, adjacent to a street. Sort of hard to have a pool if you're a corner lot and not be adjacent to a street. We have notified by mail all the adjacent property owners. I've not had a response from anyone. They had my email and phone number. They received a letter describing what we were doing, the original referral certificate, the justification and site plans and survey. We have attended the Virginia Highland Planning Committee and received approval, and we attended the Virginia Highland Board meeting and received approval at that meeting. And we hope that NPU-F will put forward a recommendation of approval. And I'd be happy to answer any questions and be happy to share my screen if anyone would like to see some of the details. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. Virginia Highland, do you have a report?
The planning committee met and looked at the property. We agree with the conclusions as offered by the applicant. There's plenty of room for stormwater when it is designed and installed on a very flat lot. that hasn't been dealt with yet, but will be later in this room to do it. There is a 6-inch tree approximately coming down in the alley, it appears. We're going to leave that, as that is not on the applicant's property and not on the city's property. We will be leaving that to the applicant to work out with the city. We recommend, both groups unanimously recommended approval, and that's my motion here.
Okay. Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Rebecca. Okay, are there any questions for the applicant? Does anyone want to see the plans before we vote? This is a very quiet group tonight. I'm a little nervous. Okay. There is a motion on the floor to recommend approval of V2254, which is at 826 Virginia Circle Northeast. All those in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, I see 22 in favor. I'm going to clear the feedback. Anyone opposed to V2254? I don't see anyone in opposition. By a vote of 22 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries.
Thank you so much. Y'all have a good meeting.
Thanks, Nina. The next application is V2256, which is at 1735 Merton Road Northeast. The applicant seeks a special exception to increase the height of a privacy fence, which is more than 50% opaque, in the side and rear yard, and the height from 6 feet to 8 feet. Is the applicant present?
Yes, hello, this is James Lennon. I'm the property owner.
Okay, you are the other Kim Woods, I think.
Yes. He is helping me with the permit and processes. But basically, the fences in the rear of the property can't be seen from the street. They're currently probably about 15 years old. I just bought the property a year ago. One of the neighbors approached me about replacing the fence because it was in disrepair. The neighbor on the other side was in agreement. The current fences on both sides of the backyard are 8 feet. So the request is to be able to just replace them to the same existing structure that they are, same style, same height, same everything. That's what both of the neighbors are in agreement with and prefer, as well as myself.
Okay. Morningside?
Yes.
Yeah. Rebecca?
Yes, Morningside voted to approve, and I'll make that my motion.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Thank you, Jack. Okay, are there any questions for the applicant? Any questions? Okay, I don't see any questions. The motion has been made and properly seconded to recommend approval of V2256 at 1735 Merton Road Northeast. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. See 20 ayes. I'm going to lower your hands. You don't have to do it. Clear the feedback. Okay, anyone opposed? Please raise your hand. I don't see anyone in opposition. By a vote of 20 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Jack and Kim. Okay, next item is B 2263. This is at 1177 Zimmer Drive Northeast. The applicant seeks a variance to reduce the east side yard setback from 7 feet to 3.8 feet for an addition to an existing dwelling. Is the applicant present?
Yes, yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Diane. Welcome.
Hi, good evening. Very simple request. This is an existing single-family house. There is already an addition onto the property that is 3.8 feet from the property line. The applicants, the property owners wish to remodel the house. They want to remove the encroachment that's into the setback, rework it by adding a mudroom onto the house. And when they complete the project, there will be less encroachment into the setback than there is now, but the distance will still be 3.8 feet. We got a favorable recommendation from the Land Use Committee and the Morningside Lennox Park Board, and hope that y'all agree with their recommendation.
Great. Thanks, Diane. Rebecca, does Morningside have a recommendation?
Morningside did recommend approval, and I'll make that my motion.
A second.
Okay, thanks, Rebecca and Jack. All right, are there any questions for the applicant? I don't see any hands raised. All right, so we've got a motion on the floor to recommend approval of V 2263 at 1177 Zimmer Drive Northeast. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay, I am seeing 18 ayes. I'm going to lower your hands. You don't have to do it. Okay. If you're opposed to recommending approval, please raise your hand. And I don't see anyone opposed to the motion. So by a vote of 18 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. And the last variance application we have tonight is V 2265 at 1222 Monroe Drive Northeast. The applicant seeking a variance to reduce the half-depth front yard setback from 17.5 feet to 15 feet and rear yard setback from 15 feet to 3 feet for construction of a detached garage. Is this applicant present?
Yes, hello, this is Gail Mooney. Hello, everybody. Thank you for taking the time out to listen to this application. And the client seeks to reduce the setbacks from the side setback from 17, the rear yard setback from 15 to 3 feet, and the half depth front yard from 17.5 to 15 feet. There's already an existing structure there. That was the existing garage, and he is expanding the garage, and in order to keep in the existing footprint, he needed to have the variance. But that is the only addition that we are seeking at this time, is to maintain that existing footprint of the garage.
So you're expanding up? The footprint stays the same, but the expansion goes up? Is that what you're?
No, it expands into the garage addition doesn't increase the nonconformity. It will be inside the setback once it's expanded. So it will become a 2-car garage.
Okay, great. Thank you. Virginia Highland.
You know, we visited, there's ample room for the soon to be required stormwater. There are no tree issues. The operative word there, Dale, is existing. It was originally, she's not increasing the existing nonconformity. Well, that was well said. Both the board, planning committee and the board recommend approval, and I make that my motion.
Okay,
And I'll second.
thank you, Rebecca. Okay, are there any questions for the applicant? All right, I don't see any hands raised, so a motion's been made, properly seconded to recommend approval of V 2265, which is at 1222 Monroe Drive Northeast. All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Debbie, there's a hand. Oops, Rich had raised his hand.
Oh. Okay,
That was the vote. I'm sorry. I was.
Oh, sorry.
On a trigger.
okay. I liked it when we could just vote yes or no, and it was a little less confusing. Okay. All right, the number's not changing. I see 16 in favor. Let me lower your hands. There we go. All those opposed, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised. By a vote of 16 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries.
Wonderful. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Gail.
Have a great evening.
Thanks. Okay, so that finishes up the variance applications. We're now going to go to the special events applications. We had a number of special events that were not present. The first one was Festival Peachtree Latino. They were also on our agenda last month, did not appear. Is there a motion?
Motion not to support.
Okay, is there a second?
Madam Chair, I have a motion.
Well, let me, okay, I don't hear a second Kay, so Kay's motion, proposed motion doesn't carry. Jack, what is your motion?
I move to approve. And I'd like to speak to the motion if it's seconded.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion to approve?
Second, Max Leventhal.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion to approve?
Yes, ma'am. I'd like, as I said, I'd like to speak to the motion.
Then speak. You still with us, Jack?
Yes, no, I was waiting to be recognized. I didn't hear you.
No, I
I'm
just,
sorry, I didn't.
please speak.
I'm sorry. I didn't hear you ask me to speak. I will cheerfully agree to be against this festival if there's some reason to be against it based on the public good, other than the fact that the applicant's not here with us. We do vet, the chair vets many of these motions, and we certainly have a long memory in this NPU about people who have administered poorly festivals, and it's quite a long memory in my estimation, and it's fine. But absent it, I'd like to say that when we are ready to approve by unanimous consent, in some cases, it clearly suggests that we have found no fault and no problem with it. And I think that I would argue that that is a form of presence of recognizing and engaging with the applicant. And if we need to change the bylaws, I will subsequently at another time make such a motion. But I move that we do it now, both for efficiency's sake and because the lack of any objection suggests that there are no concerns with this festival. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak to the motion? Okay.
Yeah, I do not think it's unreasonable to expect applicants to appear in front of the NPU. That is the policy that comes to us from the city, from the planning department that these folks are required to appear. I think the idea that because it's on the consent agenda, that everyone agrees that we would approve it is not correct. Because the first thing Debbie says, is there anyone that wants to remove this from the consent agenda so it can be discussed? And if we ignore our own bylaws and ignore our own processes, we also take away anyone's right to speak out against one of these events. So I don't think it's appropriate to give the chair the blanket right to approve these festivals without anyone having the opportunity to take it off the consent agenda and to discuss it. I also would say, I think the chair does an excellent job of running our meetings in an efficient manner. And I don't think it's particularly helpful to always be trying to find ways to change how she runs the meetings. So I'll just say that and I'll just leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay. And I just as clarification, it is not planning department's policy. It is written in the ordinance that they do attend the NPU meeting in order for us to vote, which is why I go through the list to make sure that they're here. Are there any other comments? Jack, your hand's up again. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. Of course, no one is suggesting whatsoever that there be no opportunity to resist or criticize it. That missed the point altogether. The point is that in many cases, we're willing to have people on the consent agenda, and there is an obvious opportunity to raise it if there's an issue. So that is simply not a relevant point. It's a misstatement. Secondly, the real issue here for us is that I appreciate that it's in the ordinance, and I appreciate that we would have to make a change, and we should be the leader in making a change. The point of ordinances is not so that we can go through a ritualistic set of motions to no end at all. That's different. If the person had been here, it would have been approved. That would have been that. And so there would have been no discussion, no improvement in procedure, no attempt to review it. Let's use our powers wisely. Let's not use them just so we can also go through the motions of appearing to make a difference when in fact we're not making any difference at all. The opportunity matters, but when we're not choosing to use it, we should let applicants who are busy and are doing many, many other meetings not be penalized because they didn't happen to be on this one. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And by the way, the motion is just to approve this one regardless.
Right, I understand that.
Right.
Doug, I have a question for you. And I don't know if you know the answer to this. The form that has to be completed following the NPU meeting has 3 boxes to be checked off: approve, support, do not support, and did not attend. Do you know if I'm going to use the word allowed. I don't think that's the right word, but can I will have to click off did not attend on the box. Is it okay to also approve it if they don't attend, given that it is the ordinance that requires?
Well, I appreciate Jack's perspective on the situation, but I mean, the city ordinance asks folks to attend, they haven't attended, then either the NPU should deny their application because they didn't meet the terms of the ordinance, or defer till they can attend if there's time to do that.
Okay. Thanks.
And I certainly agree with the ordinance part, Madam Chair, and don't want to belabor it, but I also would ask the chair or other greatly interested parties in these outcomes to see what effect it has in the appropriate department. If the permit is to be denied because they didn't attend, then I would assume that's a great motivation. At the same time, we've had many, many, many applicants not attend ever, and their event was held successfully or unsuccessfully, but irrelevant to the point of whether or not they attended and whatever box got checked. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, Rich Sussman.
The 3 that are, or 4 that are listed on the consent agenda and are not present there still is sufficient time to deliberate over those at a future meeting. It's sort of I know I'm avoiding Jack's issue here, but we can still, I think we can still defer these and address them at another meeting. Perhaps the chair can contact each of the applicants and say, please make sure you're here at a future meeting. And if there are any questions that come up, fine. If there are not questions, then we can move on them. But I agree that they should still attend the meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Rich. I think that is appropriate. Okay, are there any other comments? I have asked that we keep our comments to a minimum. There is a motion on the floor to recommend approval. If you are in favor of recommending approval, please vote aye. If you're opposed to recommending approval, and it sounds like Rich is ready to make a motion to defer, then please vote nay. So,
Madam Chair, I'll be glad to withdraw my motion. I offer to withdraw my motion in favor of Rich's motion. Save the vote and speed it up. Thank you for your time.
okay, there was a second. Max, are you okay with withdrawing the motion?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. All right. So
I move to defer the festival Peachtree Latino.
Second.
okay. Rich and Kay. Okay, I have all sorts of scribbles on my sheet. Aruna, are you following this? Want to make sure we get the minutes right. Okay, I don't hear. All right, there is a motion on the floor to defer Festival Peachtree Latino. It was made and properly seconded. All those in favor of the motion to defer, please raise your hand. Okay, I've got one funny symbol and I'm not sure what that symbol is.
Slow down.
Oh, sorry. Okay, I don't know where it came from though, so I apologize. My Midwestern dialect has speeded me up. Okay, I see 19 in favor of the motion to defer. If you're opposed to deferral, please, let me lower your hands. If you're opposed to deferral, please raise your hand. I don't see any hands raised. So by a vote of 19 ayes, 0 nays, the motion to defer carries. Okay, the next one is the Smart Community Fair. This is a Class C event. They were also not present and they did not appear last month. Is there a motion?
I move to defer.
Second.
To defer, okay, made by Rich, seconded by Kay. Any discussion on this motion? I'm not seeing any hands raised, so are we ready to vote? All those in favor to defer Smart Community Fair, please raise your hand. Okay, I see 19 ayes. I'm going to lower your hands. Anyone opposed to deferral, please raise your hand. I see one hand raised. Oh, no, it went away. Okay. By a vote of 19 ayes, 0 nays, the motion to defer carries. The next item on the agenda is the Freedom March. This is the Class E event, October 29th. So there's still time for them to come back. They were also on the agenda last month, but did not appear. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we defer this event for 1 month, and I suggest the chair ask if there's any opposition. We can do it by acclamation.
Okay, yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. Okay, is there a second? We need a second before we can vote.
So moved, so seconded.
So seconded. Thank you, Mr. Rich. Okay, is there any objections to deferring this applications? I don't see any objections or hear any objections. The motion carries. The next item is Juneteenth. This is the first, nope, this is a Class D event, 2,000 participants. They also did not appear last month. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that this be deferred 1 month, and I ask that the vote be acclamation. By acclamation, if there's no objection.
I'll second.
Okay, Jack made the motion, Rich seconded. All righty, is there any objection, any discussion on the motion or any objection to deferring Juneteenth to next month? Oh, our next NPU meeting is.
Debbie, I do have a remark on that one.
Okay.
Our next meeting is June 20th. And this event is supposed to take place June 19th and the following one on June 18th. I don't know if Mr. Neal or Mr. Rowland are here, but I think it would be proper to say something, approve or disapprove, because we will not have an opportunity to vote on either of those. Those events would have taken place before our meeting.
Yeah, thanks, Rich.
Madam Chair, if the group is willing to defer this and you will text me the application with the numbers, I will personally call them, see if we can get them on the line, and let's move. We need to manage this in a way that we're not constantly talking about it. And I suspect they've simply overlooked it, as so many applicants do. And I'll be happy to call them as we would with the variance app. If they weren't here, we would defer it to the end of the meeting and try to raise them on the phone, and I'll be happy to do that.
You mean raise them on
Somebody
the
will
phone
furnish me with the information.
tonight? You're talking about tonight?
Yes, ma'am. I will move to defer this to the end of the meeting. Send me the information. I'll get them on. There's a great chance I'll get them on their phone. They're probably they could easily be in other meetings, neighborhood, or other on the very same topic. It happens a lot.
Yeah, probably not this group. But
Maybe
okay.
not. Don't know.
Okay, so let me go through the rest of them, then I'll send you the.
Great, please.
Okay, the next item is the first annual One Juneteenth celebration, which is June 18th. Is the applicant present for this one?
I renew my offer under the same conditions, ma'am, and I move to hold it to the end of the meeting.
Okay, cool. The next item is Light the Night. Is the applicant present?
Do we not have to vote on that deferral?
We're just going to
No.
move to the end of the meeting.
Okay.
That's right. It's being held.
Light the Night is here. This is Laura.
Yay! Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So glad that you're here.
Yeah.
Tell us about your event. And I know this is a recurring event, so you can focus on what's different.
Okay.
And any COVID
Stuff. Yeah.
things that you'll be doing.
Incorporating. Absolutely. Well, this event, my name is Laura Valenti. I'm with Premier Events. This is Light the Night. It's the #1 fundraising event for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. It has been held in Piedmont Park since 2017. In 2020, of course, COVID came along and we did not hold the event that year. In 2021, we had planned the event and had a strong variant that popped up. Because the attendees are, some of them are actual patients and recovering and autoimmune compromised. Leukemia Lymphoma Society decided to go ahead and permit the event, but not actually hold it. It got pulled about 2.5, 3 weeks before the event was going to be held in 2021. So what's new and different, hopefully, is that we will be in the park this year and be in a better spot with COVID. This event is a festival style event in the meadow that consists of a stage with some light entertainment, plus some speakers and special guests on stage. Then they, at 8 p.m., sorry, it starts at 5:30. At about 8 o'clock, there is a rolling street closure that happens. They do a lantern walk that goes out on 10th Street, down to Juniper, up to 12th Street, and then back in the park. And they end up back in the park at right around 9 o'clock for a quick, like 3-minute fireworks display. So it's about 8,000 guests. Half of those come in via their main sponsor, which is Carter's, the children's clothing manufacturer. They are a big corporate sponsor of Leukemia Lymphoma Society, and those guests arrive on motor coaches. So we pull them into the park. The motor coaches park in the park, and then at the end of the event, they load up and drive away. So helps tremendously with the parking issues and all that kind of stuff.
All right, any questions for Sarah on Light the Night? Sarah, what do you tell your participants regarding parking?
Well, most of them will be coming in teams and they carpool. Again, about half of our guests come in on motor coaches. We certainly encourage people to use MARTA and to carpool. Many of them will park over in the parking deck that's off of Monroe Drive, the Piedmont Park parking deck. So yeah.
Okay. We've had a real problem with parking in the neighborhoods, so
right.
Thank you for encouraging them to use MARTA. Any questions for?
I move to approve.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Thanks for.
Very worthy cause.
Hey. Any additional questions for Sarah? Last chance. Let's do this by acclamation. Is there anyone here that's opposed to Light the Night Festival, to supporting Light the Night Festival? I hear a bird, but I don't see any hands raised. Okay, so by acclamation, the NPU supports this application.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. We supported. Jack, I sent you the applications for those two events in the
Thank you. Was that on email, Debbie?
No, it's in the chat.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All righty. And then the next one is the Atlanta Jazz Fest.
Hello, this is Sarah Brumfield with Premier Events as well, and I am here for the Atlanta Jazz Festival.
Great, Sarah. Okay, tell us about the Jazz Fest this year.
So this year we are moving to just one stage in the meadow. We will be held over Memorial Day weekend again. Last year, we did it over Labor Day to combat the COVID stuff during May of last year. So we're moving back to our Memorial Day weekend, and we will be having one stage in the meadow, and we will have artists, vendors, as well as food vendors going through the Charles Allen Triangle and up to Park Drive.
And Sarah, I looked through your application again today. What is your parking plan or traffic plan? Do you have one?
So right now we are encouraging everybody to take MARTA or rideshare. The rideshare that we are encouraging would be dropping off at the 12th Street gate to enter the park through that way. And the city is working with MARTA to push as many people to take that as well. We will also have a bike valet for people who want to bike to the event.
Okay. And are you anticipating 100,000 participants?
Over the weekend, we do think we'll see those numbers. Not all in one day, but over the weekend, yes.
Okay. We've had a tremendous problem with traffic and parking on some residential streets east of Piedmont Park, especially for large events. Can I call you tomorrow to talk about?
Absolutely. I also brought this up to our security coordinator, who is Captain Jeff Baxter, because I know you had mentioned that when we were talking before this. And so he's aware to make sure that we have people manning those areas strongly as well.
Okay, well, tomorrow I can give you a list of the streets that were most.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be great.
Okay, I'll call you tomorrow. Okay, super. Any other questions for Sarah regarding the Atlanta Jazz Fest?
Yes. Sarah, what time do the events start? Is it 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock as in the past, or what will be the hour of performances?
We say the event starts at 11. Performers, however, start at 1 p.m.
Okay.
So Artist Market will be open at 11 a.m., but performances won't start until 1 p.m.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Justin?
Just a comment that I'll be voting in opposition because I haven't heard any traffic planning or parking planning, and I don't see any parking or traffic planning listed in the event application, and I didn't hear the event organizer speak to any of that this evening as well. And so given that the event has a history of creating parking and traffic problems in the neighborhood, and I haven't seen any planning for that, I'll be voting in opposition.
Okay, thank you for explaining your vote. Anyone else? I don't think we have a motion. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Rich and Rebecca. Okay, I haven't heard any other questions or other hands raised. This won't be a unanimous vote, so all those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Okay, I'm seeing 16 ayes. Let me lower your hands. Great, okay. All those opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, anyone else? I see 3 in nays. By a vote of 16 ayes and 3 nays, the motion carries.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Debbie, yes, feel free to give me a call and we can talk about the streets that you're most worried about.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, and the last special event application is ATL Greenhouse. This,
Maybe I move to defer this following the same procedure for the first three on the list.
okay. Is there a second to the motion to defer?
This is ATL Greenhouse.
Oh, you're here.
Yes, I've been here. I apologize. And I want to thank those that were concerned. I mean, I made the last two meetings. I remodel homes for a living. I'm on a highway now trying to make it home to be able to zoom in, but I have it on my phone and I've been tuning in for the past half an hour.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm here.
Okay, good.
You want to give us like a 30-second description of your event?
Yes, well, actually, this will be my 13th year, and we're at the Pavilion. ATL Greenhouse is a small event that welcomes families and friends to come and express themselves at Piedmont Park through cultural music, and we dance and we picnic, and we come out once a year for ATL Greenhouse at Piedmont Park.
Okay, great. Any questions for the applicant? Daryl, thanks for calling in.
Yes, sorry, I didn't raise my hand or acknowledge, but I've been here. So.
That's fine. Is there a
Yes.
motion?
I'll move to approve.
Rich,
I'll second.
thank you. Kay. Okay, the motion's been made and properly seconded to support ATL Greenhouse, which is July 9th
Yes.
in Piedmont Park. Are there any objections to supporting this application? Let me give it a minute. I see no objections. The motion carries without objections. Thank you.
Debbie, it's Jack. I regret to report that I cannot open your message. If there's anyone else in the leadership, I think you're a bit busy right now, who could, in the leadership that could forward this information, I would be glad to try again.
Okay,
Thank you.
I only sent it to you, so.
I know, I understand. I'm wondering, the
don't know.
format is not cooperating, and it's probably, could be on my end, very likely, but I can't. Rather than tussle with it, I was hoping somebody else could let you run the meeting, and perhaps Kay could forward it. That would be handy.
Okay, I don't know that Kay's got it. Okay.
She
so-
didn't send it to me, Jack, so I can't send it to you.
Okay, let's do this. Chief Dewberry, you slipped in following the meeting. Why don't you give your report, and while you do that, I will send to Kay those two.
It'd be great if you could do it in email. That's even more reliable. Thanks.
Okay, that one's going to be a little trickier for me.
Well, okay, a phone message would be great. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, and that one's hard too, but all right. Chief Dewberry, go ahead.
Hey, good evening. Sorry, I was late. We were out on a call and took us a little bit to get back. I just wanted to pop in, make sure one didn't have any questions. So it's just, summertime for us. We just graduated 26 recruits a few weeks ago. They hit the field this past week. 3 of those recruits came to the Midtown downtown area. We do have another 113 at the training center right now, either on the EMS side or on the fire side, that we're hoping to get out in the next few months. You've probably seen our apparatus out. We're doing our spring hydrant checks right now. So you'll see a lot of the apparatus out doing spring hydrant checks right now. Just as we know, just I guess safety reminders, just this next week, we're going to be starting to get in since it's pretty hot weather. So just remember those heat related emergencies and our elderly and those that may struggle with trying to, stay cool or be in a position where they can. So just look out for our neighbors. Of course, we're here always. If you need us, we'll be glad to respond and help out any way we can. That's pretty much all I have tonight, and I'll take any questions. Anybody's got anything?
Does anyone have any questions?
John Wolfinger has his hand up, and then I have a question.
Okay.
John, good to see you. Go ahead.
You're muted, John. There you go.
John?
There we go. No, I didn't have my hand up.
In that case, I'll ask my question. This is not specifically to NPU-F, but we heard about the fire at the playground at Chastain last night, and there have been reports that that was arson. Do you
Yes,
know, has that been verified that it was arson?
No, ma'am. And I'll be honest, I do not have any details on that. That occurred on our C shift. We came in this morning at 7 o'clock. I'd be more than happy to check into it for you, but I do not have any information right now whether that was intentionally set or not.
Okay, I guess the reason I'm asking is that if it is arson, then of course we wonder if there are other arson cases, and if this is some kind of a trend that we need to be looking out for.
I can say that, of course, we have a fire investigations division, and if there's anything suspicious about the fire, of course, we call those folks out. And I do not know of any other, I have not been informed of any other activity that would throw up a red flag as far as multiple, set fires and things like that. So I have not heard any activity such as that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
All right. Well, again, thank you for your time. I'm sorry I was late. I just want to make sure I chimed in and see if anybody need anything. I hope you ladies and men have a good rest of your evening.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
Thank you for coming. Okay. All right. I am also having difficulty opening up these files. So we'll move on to the next application, and then I'll try again. The next item is the text amendment. This is Z2225. It's an ordinance by a number of council members to create a new definition for commercial food preparation and delivery-based commercial kitchen. Doug, do you have anything that you want to share on this ordinance?
I do not, but I will double check, see if any other paperwork that I did not see earlier. So let me double check that.
So my understanding of this ordinance is that there's a gap in the zoning code that does not. Whoops, who's?
Hey, I do, okay, Debbie, I do have a fact sheet.
Okay,
You want me to quickly run through that?
sure, go ahead.
Excellent, let me get that. Let me just get to the. So the legislation that we're speaking about today, Z2225 ghost kitchens, creates a definition for commercial food prep and delivery-based commercial kitchens that differentiate between those kind of uses. It amends the allowed uses in the manufacturing I-1 category to eliminate commercial food preparation and delivery-based commercial kitchens. It adds food prep as a permitted use in I-1, adds off-street parking for the commercial food prep in I-1, and then adds off-street parking requirements and loading requirements for delivery kitchens in C1. And it's, as a response to the increase in the number of commercial ghost kitchens in the industrial districts, and their effect on, nearby properties. So that's where the ordinance comes from, and is introduced by council members Hills, Westmoreland, Boone, Shook, Amos, and Faroki.
Okay, does anyone have any questions? Did anyone read the ordinance?
Madam Chair,
Yeah, go ahead, Jack.
I happened to bump into Councilmember Faroki this weekend and discuss this with him, and I believe I understand the same from Councilmember Westmoreland. This is intended to standardize a practice that is underway that didn't exist 10 or 15 years ago, of allowing folks to prepare food in spots that may or may not always have been traditionally prepared for it, or in context where it always wasn't. I believe they feel that it has good protections for neighborhoods on it. And beyond that level of detail, which is not great, I perfectly acknowledge. I don't know much, but they think it's progressive. Those are two council members. There's certainly others, but those are two, including our own Mr. Juan, but I haven't spoken to him about this, whose opinions have generally been well thought out in my experience, and I'll offer their comments to the community. Thank you.
Doug, I don't know if you can answer this question, but I was trying to think of situations in NPU-F that are currently in I-1 where there's food preparation. And one that comes to mind is the Project Open Hand facility, which is in Armour Otley, and I believe that's I-1. Does anyone know whether or not this legislation would affect them in any way? I don't think it does, but. Okay, and the other area that I thought about was at the Manchester Liddell area. Have been a number of food preparation businesses that have opened up, and they are adjacent to R4 property and other residential property. And then the last thing that came to mind was that in C1, if I read this ordinance correctly, the parking requirements is twice as high as what would be required for a restaurant in C1, and I didn't quite understand what the rationale would be for that. So those would be my comments. Does anybody else have anything that they'd want to offer?
Madam Chair, if you're ready for a motion, I'll move that NPU-F support this.
Before a motion, Jack, I heard Rich's voice.
I think you may have overstated something in the Manchester Liddell area. Manchester, I don't think it's R4 down there. It's all multifamily, I believe, and I'm not exactly sure what the zoning is. I know the Buttery and other places have opened up, and it seems to be a well-run type of business. I haven't heard any complaints there. And in Faulkner area, which is not really adjacent to residential, it's more an industrial area, commercial area. I haven't heard any complaints down there also, except for some crazy activities, but nothing as far as food preparation goes. So it seems that I think the council people are addressing a need, just a gap in the zoning, and trying to protect as much as possible adjacent residential areas.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, thanks, Rich. All right, is there a motion, Jack?
Yes, I move that we voice our support of this.
I'll second it.
Alrighty. so a motion's been made and properly seconded to support Z 2225, which relates to commercial food preparation and delivery-based commercial kitchens, also known as ghost kitchens. I guess let's take a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Okay, it looks like I see 7 ayes and 1 person applauding.
Yeah, I hit the wrong one. My apologies.
Okay, that's 8. Okay, if you're opposed to the motion to support V 2225, please raise your hand. Oh, I guess it would help if I cleared those votes. If you're opposed, please raise your hand. I'm not seeing any votes in opposition, so by a vote of 8 ayes and 0 nays, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda is, actually, this is 2 matters for review and comment only. They're 2 alcohol licenses. Jane, did you want to address these? Jane still here? Jane Rawlings?
Jane, you appear to be unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Well, we can almost hear you now. I think the internet is really funky tonight.
Jane, do you? She is.
Jane, your audio is sort of working, but it's breaking up.
Jane, do you normally use those headphones when you're on these? Huh.
Okay, while Jane's trying to work out her sound, let me just do a quick review. The first application is Capella Cheese, which is at 255 Otley Drive in the Armour Otley area. This is actually an NPU-E. This is a new business and a retail package business in the area. As you all know, Armour Otley is kind of an odd district in that the only way in or out is through Piedmont Heights, but part of that area is considered NPU-E. We don't own all of it in our NPU. So the planning department is asking if we have any concerns or comments regarding putting a new business in this area. That's a retail package store. Does anyone have any concerns?
Debbie, this is to sell beer and wine only, not liquor. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's correct. I don't have the application and I can't open any of the applications.
Well, I have it open in front of me. And presumably they're also going to sell cheese to go with their wine, given the name.
Thank you. Anyone have any comments or concerns? And we will report no comments or concerns. Okay, do you have the second one Tio Luke chose open?
I'm opening it now. And this is a new restaurant going into the space where Co was in Ponce Highland. So they've circled new business, but it's listed on our agenda as a change of ownership. It's a restaurant, liquor, beer, and wine consumed on premise. No live entertainment, no adult entertainment, no dancing. Let's see, where are their hours? Their hours are 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. We know they have adequate parking because it's part of a new construction that has a large parking deck. I don't see anything else concerning.
This is in NPU-N. Are there any comments or concerns regarding this location? This one's already had an alcohol license there.
So I guess the only thing I would say, Kay, you're saying new business, it says here change of ownership. Maybe we should just comment that, clarify what it is.
I mean, it's clearly a totally new concept, although there was a restaurant in there with an alcohol license up to like 3 months ago. They probably went out of business.
I understand that. I mean, just for their edification, I hope that that little detail doesn't stand in their way of, moving forward with the application.
Yep.
We catch it, somebody else may catch it.
Yep. It definitely says new business on their application, so I'm not sure why it says restaurant change of ownership on our agenda.
Maybe we should just point that out.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can do that. Any other comments?
Oh, Jane has commented that she saw no issues with either. And she recommends support. The positions of NPU-E on the Capella app and NPU-M on the Tio Lucho app.
Okay. We actually don't need to take a vote on that, or just need to report that we have no comments.
Okay.
For this. Okay. Anything else?
I sent Jack those two applications. I don't know if he had a chance to do anything with them.
Okay, yeah.
Debbie, Juneteenth is, Juneteenth, no answer. The other one has been canceled, and I asked the man to write, Mr. Arnold, to write us a note to that effect. No answer at Juneteenth, which appears to be run by a professional manager. The 9,500 people, that makes sense, but have not heard. The other one is canceled.
Okay. So is there a motion on Juneteenth? This is one of the events that will take place before our next NPU meeting. This
So
would not have been on the consent agenda.
Yes, one listener who's new here wrote in and asked what happened to these events, and that's a fair question. One of my concerns, as I expressed earlier, is that in my observation, they tend to get approved or held without our approval or comment either way. I'd like to move that we hold that the chair contact, or her designee chair contact, the organizers and offer to take the matter before the executive committee for review, and that If anyone has any comments, they fire them off to the chair and they'll be done at that point. I'm really not trying to facilitate these events, but I don't, my earlier point was if our opinion really matters, then their failure to appear should end it. And if it doesn't, then why are we bothering so much? But anyway, that's my motion. I recommend that it go to the executive committee under the chair's direction.
Let me just give you the chair's opinion on having to contact them. These organizations have been contacted several months in a row already and haven't heard from them. I will check to see if NPU-E has a recommendation for them, but I really, at this point, don't really want to go through that effort, Jack.
No, I don't disagree with you, Debbie. I just point out that this is old hat to people who have done it a lot, but the event is entirely, the impacts are certainly not limited to NPU-E. We certainly collect those. But the event is an NPU-E, and it's just confusing to a lot of folks. It's very confusing until they've done it a while. These guys, I don't know if they're pros or not. Actually, the way it's reading, I'm guessing this is the first time they've done the application. It's their first event.
It's their first,
but just a guess. It's up to you. I wouldn't recommend that you chase them. I also recommend that I could leave them a message saying, if you want to, contact you. And that would be the way you'd handle it. It's up to you. I don't care. It's your call.
My preference is not to. We've got enough other stuff going on.
Okay, well
But as I
then
said, I will contact NPU-E.
we can, well, so what's the point of contacting them? I mean, they haven't appeared before us. That's the point. So they're out theoretically, but they're not.
Jack, let me finish what I was going to say.
Okay.
NPU also has an interest in Piedmont Park events, and they do a better job of scrubbing these applications than we're able to do, since this is a one-man show in our NPU. And if they have already been to NPU-E, I would feel much better about the event. If they haven't, then I would ask NPU-E to join forces to go to the city and ask them to hold off on granting a permit until they show up someplace.
Practically speaking, they're not going to be at our NPU meeting before the event.
They can go to NPU-E.
Well, that's fine with me. Let's make that our procedure on these events. Let NPU handle it, and if NPU approves it, that'll be our stance. That's okay with me.
Debbie, while you and Jack are having a dialogue, you have 3 people with their hands up.
Oh, okay, great. Rich.
Since you've attempted to contact these people for the last several months and they have failed to show, at this point, I would like to make a motion to oppose this application. I mean, how many times, and we may oppose it, the city may approve it, but we can say we oppose because they failed to show up for the last 3 months, as per the ordinance calls for.
Please second that motion.
Okay. So the motion was made and seconded to oppose Juneteenth, which is to be held in Piedmont Park on June 19th. There are still a couple hands raised. Mark Smith. Mark Smith.
I mean, I'll take mine down. I think it's handled right. I just don't think it's our responsibility to go. You know, if people can't take the time to show up and introduce themselves, and I don't know why we would trust them to put on a festival in our neighborhood.
Mark, thank you.
I think Kay said it well, initially. I don't know why Jack's so caught up on this.
Okay.
Great, thank you. Okay, any other, Kay, is your hand raised?
Yeah, I was just going to say that the only other alternative was just to send the form back with didn't show up and not take a position, but I support Rich's motion.
Great, okay, thank you. All right, let's take a vote. All those in favor of not supporting, that's the correct language for special events, the Juneteenth festival, please raise your hand. All right, I see whoops, number's still changing. I see 12 ayes. I'm going to lower your hands. All those opposed to the motion to oppose Juneteenth, please raise your hand. I don't see any nays. By a vote of 12 ayes, 0 nays, the motion to oppose carries. Okay. And Doug, I know that you're keeping track of those. Do you have that for your form?
I do. I went back and added those to the various notes I had for those previous applications. I did want to clarify that the first one Juneteenth festival is the one that was apparently withdrawn, and we just voted on the Juneteenth festival. Okay. Yep, I got it.
Great, thank you. Okay. Where are we in this mess? Presentations. Beth Smith has been very patient. She is here from Beltline Rail now. I'm going to let Beth give her presentation. If you've got anything that you want to share with us, please feel free to share your screen, and please try and limit your presentation to about 5 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes, please.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much for your time this evening. I will be very quick. Beltline Rail Now is a volunteer grassroots organization. We've been around since 2018. We did earn your support for our petition in 2018, and we are back with a renewed, refreshed, even briefer petition. The basic point is to urge accountability and the speeding up of delivery of the city's plan to build light rail along the Beltline. And I don't know if you've had a chance to see the cover letter that we sent in, but I'll skip over to the petition itself. It's short and sweet. Can everybody see that?
Is there any way to make it a little bit larger?
Yeah. Oops.
Oh, good.
And I'm happy to read it for anyone who would like me to read it.
For those that may be on the phone and don't have access to the.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
The introduction is transit is a vital component of the City of Atlanta's plan to drive equitable growth, boost mobility, and generate affordable housing while protecting the environment. Record-breaking federal funding is available, but only for a short time. Therefore, Mayor Andre Dickens, MARTA, and the City Council must all commit to immediate actions necessary to accelerate delivery of light rail along the Beltline. The project's circular design, which utilizes electric-powered streetcars running on tracks embedded in grass, also represents Atlanta's most cost-effective opportunity to sustainably connect 45 neighborhoods to Atlanta's entire rail and bus transit network. That's it.
Okay, and so the ask from Beltline Rail Now today is for NPU-F to recommit to your petition? Is that
yes, ma'am.
Okay. Is there anything else that you wanted to share with us?
I'm happy to share plenty of background information. Happy to answer any questions. That I would like to emphasize, this is the city's plan. It is in more MARTA. I did add a little detail into the chat so that people would have it in writing. We're not asking for anything the city hasn't carefully studied. It's been studied repeatedly over the years. It became official city plan in early 2000s. And what had happened is the recession of 2008 meant that the city decided that instead of simultaneously building the light rail with the trail, they opted to see how the trail would do. And if it was successful, then at a later date, implement the rail. Our organization understands that we're getting a lot of uneven outcomes and problems associated with that decision. So we're urging the city to follow through on its promise and make good use of the MARTA half-cent sales tax that we've been paying since 2017. It's got $365 million in the fund, and that would get us going on the very first segment of light rail development along the Beltline, which is the streetcar east extension. It's about 2 miles, 1.4 of which would actually be on the Beltline, and that's extending into the Ponce City Market area. And it's all local funds. It doesn't need any federal approval. It would be very easy for us to get going on that. And experts in the transit field tell us that it should only take about 3 years to complete, and certainly not what MARTA was estimating, which is 2027 or later. So Mayor Dickens supports rail on the Beltline. It was part of his inaugural address. We have a lot of fresh faces on the city council who have gone on record in support of the project. I know there are several people attending the meeting tonight who would speak in favor of it as well.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
I see a couple hands raised, Kay.
So my understanding now is not just recommitting to what we committed to in 2018, but the idea that there is federal funding available, that Secretary Buttigieg has told us specifically that this is exactly the kind of project that money is targeted at, and we don't see any evidence that MARTA is going after that money.
That is correct.
So what you're really, if I understand what you're asking us to do, you're asking us to help you build a fire under somebody to go ask for that money, so it doesn't end up going somewhere else in the country.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and Mark Smith?
Hey, Beth, thanks so much. I guess my only comment is I'm actually opposed to this. It cost $100 million and took 3 years to build less than 3 miles of rail previously. It has average ridership of, I think, 20% of what they originally projected. It doesn't run during key events and cost approximately what, $4 to $5 million a year to run it. Why would this be any different? And why would we want, I would argue, just an ongoing construction project with maintenance alongside what is now and what should be a walking, biking trail, when there's plenty of on-demand scooters available, any time of day?
Great question. And I will say that this is the City of Atlanta's plan to deal with the anticipated population growth that we have. It has been repeatedly studied and reconfirmed as recently as 2018 by an expert task force, local experts, that light rail was needed. There are many, many studies that you can also find at the Atlanta Regional Commission. One thing to remember is the current Atlanta streetcar is not at all representative of what Beltline Rail seeks to accomplish. The Atlanta streetcar has many problems, and we're on record repeatedly trying to get MARTA to correct those problems. I agree with you entirely, completely, enthusiastically. It would be wonderful if MARTA would correct those problems. The Beltline is a designated green space, green transit corridor that will not be stuck in traffic. It is designed to supercharge MARTA's effectiveness throughout the city, connecting 45 neighborhoods. And it's a completely different apples to oranges example, but yes, the Atlanta streetcar that currently operates does need to have its problems fixed. That is a completely separate matter from what we're talking about. And the petition that some of you are looking at on your screen is emphasizing the critical points that need to be made. If this is not the city's plan, then the city should officially announce that it is no longer its plan. But we are losing millions of dollars, maybe more, federal funds to greatly enhance our transit, reduce problematic congestion, adding to environmental pollution, certainly not helping us with transit-oriented development that could greatly enhance that middle level of housing, that missing middle level of housing that is so desperately needed. We refer to it as affordable housing, not to be confused with subsidized housing. This is just, you know, people who make a really healthy income finding it harder and harder to be able to live in Atlanta. We have a situation where people are being forced to drive longer and longer distances because current MARTA is inadequate. Very few people
The in-town train on the Beltline is not going to change any of that. I would encourage, there's not one city in the country where this is proven to make any sense other than just a complete money pit and just an ongoing construction zone.
I disagree with you, and we have plenty of examples on our website that I would encourage you to take a look at. Happy to have this conversation in greater depth, either here or later, whichever the chair and the attendants prefer.
Okay, one other hand is raised, Jack.
First of all, congratulations on your presentation. You're to be lauded for your brevity and getting right to the point.
Thank you.
I do have a question or two here for you. It's about your therefore sentence, your conclusion at the end. There's much to support in this concept. I'm curious why, in a way, why you're here. You made what is the level, please, of political support for this position on the council? And I have one more question you can answer them both at once. It seemed to me in your statement you implied that because this is the position of the city of Atlanta, that this was nearly, it sounded like, a done deal. And yet my impression is that it is nowhere near a done deal. And I wonder if you would comment on why it is even necessary for you to come here. You're very welcome, but why is it necessary to come ask for a support that's worded in a way that seems like mom apple pie, at least to most people here?
I agree with you completely. And when I showed up to my very first Beltline Rail Now meeting in 2018, I had the same exact question. This is the city's policy. Why isn't the city following through with the commitment that it made to voters? When voters were presented with the half-cent more MARTA tax in 2016, after the 2012 regional proposal failed, voters overwhelmingly supported it, largely because we were being promised light rail along the Beltline. This is absolutely—
We don't know that, really, do we? But go ahead. They supported it, though. Yeah. That's correct. Go ahead.
Yeah. So yes, they overwhelmingly supported it, and it was definitely promoted as, if you pass this, we will deliver the light rail on the Beltline.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Go
Thank
ahead.
you. So I can produce Mayor Dickens' inaugural address. It's on YouTube for anyone to see. Mayor Dickens has completed the questionnaire that our group provided to him when he was candidate Dickens. And he has detailed answers. They're all posted for everyone to see on our website, as are the answers for the city council candidates that participated in taking the candidate questionnaire. We scored them. We shared this. There are both audio, video, and written statements to that effect. You are absolutely right. I shouldn't have to be here tonight. My organization has grown from an education group to an accountability group, because unfortunately, under the leadership of Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, this project didn't make significant progress. You can excuse a lack of progress when there's a recession in 2008. It took about until 2011 for Atlanta and the housing market to recover from that. I'm a realtor and I have been for more than 21 years. So affordable housing is near and dear to my heart, and traffic is, I think, near and dear to most people's hearts in the city of Atlanta. We don't have adequate transit, and this particular project has so many additional supplemental rewards, benefits that go along with it if leveraged correctly by the city officials responsible for delivering this for the city, for the people of Atlanta. And so we're calling on them to do what they've promised. And, you know, I agree. I would like nothing more than for my organization not to have to exist, but we're an accountability organization now.
I got you. What do we do? I mean, more specifically, other than think good thoughts, which council members would you like us to speak to, Beth? But come on, let's hear it. I'll speak to them. Tell me who they are.
Fabulous, fabulous. So number one, I want every NPU that we go to sign our petition. And the second ask of us is that you draft a personalized letter of support that we can forward to our elected officials, the mayor, city council rep for your NPU, the city council as a whole, transportation committee chair. You know, these are the people that need to hear that we haven't forgotten. Atlanta Beltline Inc. is completely and entirely focused on delivering a trail. A trail is a wonderful thing. People are enjoying it. It has improved mobility for some people, but it is not a transit solution. You know, Atlanta desperately needs enhanced mass transit, and not mass transit stuck on our already congested roads. We have way too many people moving here for that to be a viable option. And if this Beltline rail isn't the city's plan, isn't the city's solution, we need one, and we need one yesterday.
Okay.
Well, I'm still looking for measurable things to do, Beth. How will we know? But I'll stop right now. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I'm asking for you to sign this petition as your NPU, and I'm asking for a personalized letter of support, because I'm not trying to put words in people's mouths. I am trying to give people an opportunity to convey their sentiment about the importance of delivering a viable mass transit solution to the city of Atlanta for today and for the future.
So I'm hearing two actions. The first is whether or not the NPU should recommit to this petition, this revised petition, to support more aggressive action related to transit. Is there a motion?
I move that we support the petition of Beltline Rail Now.
I second.
Okay, was this, I'm sorry, who was the second? I heard Rich, I heard, was it Jane?
Hopefully you heard me, Jane Rawlings. I think I fixed my mic.
Yeah, we can hear you now, Jane.
We can. Welcome to the meeting. Okay, so a motion's been made, properly seconded to support this petition, to sign this petition, return it to Beltline Rail Now. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Alrighty, the number is not changing, so I see 18 ayes. I'm going to lower 19 ayes. I'm going to lower your hands. For those that are opposed, please raise your hand. Okay, I see 2 nays. By a vote of 19 ayes and 2 nays, the motion carries.
Thank you.
So that's the first step. The second step is to submit a letter with our signed petition. Kay, do you want to, Kay drafted one that she personalized for NPU-F. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I can't find my copy of it.
We put that on the screen, Madam Chair.
Yeah, if we can find it.
Let me know if I need to stop sharing.
Yeah, I think it is time to do that, yes.
Yeah. Try and find my copy of it. It was attached to the email that was sent out this weekend as with the reminders. So- oh.
I have it pulled up in Google Docs.
Oh, okay. Can you share it? Oh, you have shared it.
Let's see.
Can you zoom in a little bit?
Do you know, are you not seeing the one I shared?
Yeah, I am. It's just very small.
Okay. I can read it. Is that helpful?
We can
Or
read
I
it.
can
So
try to
just give-
enlarge it.
Yeah, enlarge it would be great. There you go. Thank you.
How about that? Can you read it
That's
now?
better. Much better.
Yeah, Kay, thank you so much. And this would be addressed to the mayor and council?
Yes.
Beth, is this correct? There is no evidence that MARTA has applied for this transit funds?
There is no public evidence. MARTA
No,
would,
that wasn't what I ask. You know more than many of us in the public know. I'm asking to your knowledge. Is that
to my
correct?
knowledge, there is absolutely no evidence that MARTA has sought any light rail funding.
I would just point out, I certainly can support this. Beth, my disappointment in this is that it's cheer, cheer for old Notre Dame. And I'm for it. If you love Notre Dame, cheer, cheer. But I don't think this moves the ball toward the project. I would rather have very specific guidelines. So you should apply for these amount of money by this period of time. I think that's actionable and measurable and at a specific goal, not, hey, let's do our very best now, which is kind of what's being said here. So I'm a little disappointed in the campaign politically, because I think many members argue that even in the last administration argued they were committed to it. They just didn't appear to my half visible eyes to be doing anything. So anyway, I'd like measurable guidelines and measurements. You voted for this motion, you voted for this action, or you didn't. Secondly, and my point here is that we should, in this last paragraph, I don't think the neighborhoods have voted for this. We can go individually to them and ask them to. So I want to say if NPU-F includes these neighborhoods and NPU-F respectfully requests, that would be the proper way to word it. And I would support it under that guise. I think it would probably pass at many, if not all.
That's an easy enough change to make. I don't have a problem with that.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay.
Thank you, Beth, for coming. I appreciate it.
So
Thank
perhaps we should say, following up on Jack's comments, we would like to see the city or MARTA, whoever the applicant is, to meet the next federal funding cycle. Something like that, if you're looking for something measurable.
Well, I will agree with that because I don't see the harm in applying for the funding. Either you get it or you don't, but it doesn't preclude. That seems like a very supportable and measurable act. And the single most important, the money's not going to be dumped out of, this isn't Iraq. We're not flying in a C-130 with boxes of $100 bills. So
Can we stay on topic, please? Okay. Anyone else? Is there a motion?
I move that NPU-F supports this letter with the suggested changes.
I'll second it.
Okay. Okay, and Rich. with suggested changes. Okay, all those in favor of the motion to send this letter with the suggested changes, please raise your hand.
Seem to have lost my Zoom controls.
I think there's something going on with Zoom tonight.
Really? Okay, oh, there we go. Now I can vote.
Okay. Okay. Have you voted? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So 19 ayes. If you're opposed to sending this letter, let me clear the feedback first. Okay. If you're opposed to the motion to send this letter, please raise your hand. I see one hand raised by a vote of 19 ayes and 1 nay, the motion carries. So Kay, you'll make these.
I will. I'll get a draft to you tomorrow, or a final to you tomorrow.
Great, thank you. And then I have one last wrinkle to this mess. I received a request from ABI, that's the Atlanta Beltline Inc., asking the NPU to send a letter to Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg, asking for our support, giving him our support for the Beltline's grant proposal called Trails to Transit Atlanta Beltline Connects People to MARTA application. This is for part of the mega program. And I'm just going to kind of skim through this letter and give you the high points, because the City of Atlanta and Atlanta Beltline Inc. proposal will substantially enhance access to regional transit for pedestrians and cyclists, remove transportation barriers to improve mobility of people, and complete one of the last complex sections of the Atlanta Beltline. And the section they're referring to is the Northwest Trail. So this funding request is only for the Northwest Trail, which, if you've been following the news, is fairly complex. While much of the 22-mile Atlanta Beltline loop reuses former railroad corridor, this complex 2.7-mile portion requires building new infrastructure to get people over and under MARTA heavy rail, active Norfolk Southern freight rail, active CSX freight rail, state highway, and Peachtree Creek. The project will improve multimodal connections between Atlanta Beltline and MARTA's Lindbergh Center Station, the 4th busiest station in the nation's ninth largest transit system. Increasing transit access and ridership through the Atlanta Beltline will enhance safe, climate-friendly travel options for nearby residents. In US DOT designated areas of persistent poverty, as well as those traveling between the city and other counties in the region. And then the last paragraph has to do with the transformative economic development in metropolitan Atlanta. An estimated 8.3 billion in private development around the corridor has stimulated 58,100 construction jobs through the end of 2021 and an estimated 24,000 new permanent jobs through 2019. We strongly encourage your favorable consideration of the City of Atlanta and Atlanta Beltline's application. Thoughts? Should NPU-F submit this letter? Okay, I see your hand raised.
So I'll share with the rest of the group the comments I shared with you. First of all, I think it's outrageous that they sent this to us on a Friday and demanded that we get back to them within 5 days. They should know how the NPUs operate, and that's just not reasonable. Having said that, I think if there's federal money out there, we should go for it. But I'm troubled that once again, we're going after money to build the sidewalk, and we're going after money to spend it in the wealthiest part of the city when the west side and the south side are in great need of investment. And so the optics of this are not great as usual. So that's my comment. I mean, I think we should probably support it, because if there's federal money, we should get it and find a good way to use it. I'm just not sure this is the best way to use that money.
Thanks.
I have a question for Beth, Debbie.
Yeah.
Is this a separate pot from what would build the transit? Beth, do you know?
I don't have a definitive answer to that question. I did put it out to my fellow board members about that, and I did Google the grant itself, and Googling it did not clear it up 100% for me. But I would say that I agree completely with everything that Kay just said. And if you do decide to support it, I would encourage you to include language about how you're concerned that the light rail transit is taking so much longer for completion, and that your NPU views the complete Beltline as including the transit that was promised. And you could certainly say things along the lines of, making sure that the disinvested communities that have suffered for decades, the communities that have suffered decades of disinvestment should be getting transit resources. Does that help at all?
Yeah. So maybe this, I agree a couple things here. One, if there's federal funds out there, yeah, we should try and get whatever money is available. A lot of people don't like to do those things, but if it's out there, it's our tax dollars, we might as well try and get it. And I do agree, even though I live in that part of the city that would greatly benefit by this 2.7 mile section, I see this really as a total Atlanta issue, not just a Northeast or Northwest Atlanta issue. So something that sort of speaks to the entire project rather than this project would be a good addition to it. And I'm not sure we have to do this immediately. Is there a deadline, Debbie, when you received this, or Kay, when you received this from ABI? Did they say they were trying to meet a deadline by expressing their concerns to Buttigieg on this?
Yeah, the deadline's Wednesday.
Oh, I mean, like 2 days from now.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
I got this at Friday at 3:30.
And the problem in my mind too is that they're asking us to write a letter to Secretary Buttigieg.
Yeah.
So, getting him into the debate of whether it should go in this part of the city or that part of the city, what's he going to do with that?
Well, I'll tell you though, after being a federal employee for 35 years, something like this, the people up on top listen to.
Yeah.
They do. Now, I remember the Secretary of Interior, if he heard from a neighborhood, he would call the regional director of the Park Service, and the Park Service director would do something about it. So it could have an influence.
So maybe we should write a letter, but just not necessarily the letter they asked us to write.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have to be cautious of the letter we write, otherwise ABI will not attach it.
Yeah.
We want to bring a couple more issues into it in a very cautious manner.
Any other thoughts?
Jane has her hand up.
Oh, hi, Jane. Sorry.
Could we just, no, that's okay. Could we just pen our own rather than signing on to ABIs?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure we can.
Okay. That would be my preference. My concern is that ABI would somehow use this as an either or proposition.
Yep.
And I want it to be a both and proposition.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jane, do you want to work with me on drafting the letter?
Yes, I'm happy to be a scut worker. You'll be the expert, but I'm good at scut work.
Does that work for you, Debbie?
Yeah, that's fine, as long as we can get it done by Wednesday. And I'll check with Nathan to see if they've got any flexibility on the date.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking we're an afterthought. They're probably going through their checklist and went, oh, let's get a letter.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we need a motion to do something.
I move that we draft a letter expressing support and including the concerns that were raised during this meeting. Is that vague enough?
Go along with that as a second.
Okay. Does anyone else want to review the letter before it's sent?
I do. Yeah. Shoot it to me. I appreciate it.
Sure. I'll keep you in the loop, Rich.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there a second to the motion?
Rich seconded.
I did.
Thank you. Okay. Let's just do this by acclamation. Is there anyone here that opposes sending this a letter that is drafted by the NPU that includes the concerns that were expressed at today's meeting? Please raise your hand or speak up. Okay, I'm not seeing any objections. So the motion carries. We will draft a letter. Kay, Jane, and Rich and I will work on it and get it to ABI by their deadline.
Which hopefully is a little later than Wednesday, but if not, we'll get it done by then.
Yep.
Okay, great. All righty, thank you. Beth, thank you. Thanks for sticking with us. We're now
My
going.
pleasure.
And I'll get that letter and petition signed to you. Neighborhood and committee reports. Lindridge Martin Manor, do you have a report?
Yes, our partners with the South Fork Conservancy will be holding their Creek Rising event in October, on October 20th at 4:30 in the afternoon at Zona Light Park, and I will be reminding everybody about this in future meetings. And we held our meeting, our first in-person meeting on May 4th. I was not there, but we finally did it. And people were very appreciative of getting back together again.
Great. Okay, Piedmont Heights. Anyone here from Piedmont Heights? Morningside Lennox Park?
Marla had to jump off the meeting, but she left her notes in the chat for everybody.
Oh, great, okay. I'll make a note to check the chat. Virginia Highland? Anyone from Virginia Highland have a report?
Hey Debbie, it's Leah. We're really just gearing up for Summerfest, which is this year, June 11th. The biggest difference this year is it's only a one-day event versus a two-day event. And then we are doing a ticketed event on Friday with the proceeds going back to John Hill Park.
Okay. Edmund Park, thanks Leah. Edmund Park?
Nothing to report, Debbie.
Okay. Emory CDC Druid Hills area? Don't hear anyone. Is there a parks, trees, and environment report?
Yes, I do. First of all, thank you, Debbie. We received the neighborhood grant. The money is gone to Morningside. Woodbridge Martin Manor has a small portion of that, and we will be communicating with Morningside. So I believe several of our neighborhoods have benefited by that neighborhood grant. Secondly, if I know Department of Watershed Management was not here today, but they will be starting to build at some point the interceptor for the water treatment plant, I guess the storm diversion plant along the North Creek fork of Peachtree Creek. And Debbie, if you could possibly contact them to see if they could come to the next meeting to give us an update on where they were. They have not contacted us. They were supposed to start last month, I believe. And so if a representative could come to our next meeting, we greatly appreciate that.
Okay.
Thirdly, we've been trying to do some work on the tree ordinance. Last year, Matt Westmoreland was spearheading that effort. I just had a conversation with him during our meeting today, and apparently Councilperson Dozier now is ahead of that effort. So we'll be contacting Councilman Dozier and seeing how NPU-F can support the council's efforts to move the street ordinance forward, revised street ordinance forward, tree ordinance forward.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. And I will contact Watershed Management and ask them to come give us
Thank you.
next month. Education Committee.
Hi, everyone. I'll try to make this brief, but as you all have probably been following, APS has come up with their recommendation. So it was between two scenarios, a new K-5 in the Inman building versus a dual campus in the Inman building. And they did the first read at the past board meeting and it passed 5-4, which would be for a new K-5 in the Inman building. I have spent a little bit of time talking to a board member and then also someone at APS. So even though it passed 5-4, that doesn't mean that's necessarily going to be what is in the new Inman building, but it means that the board is at least moving forward with exploring that option. So there still could be changes between now and June 6th, and that could be the model or it could be the current lines could change. So on June 6th is going to be the board meeting that will finalize the recommendation. And then there will be a final board vote on August 8th. So with the new K-5 that they are recommending, essentially 184 students would move from MES to the new Inman building, and 171 students would move from Mary Lynn to Spark, and then 502 students would move from Spark. 493 of those to the new Inman building, and then 9 of those to Morningside Elementary. That would get the utilization numbers at Hope Hill at 82%, the new Inman building at 73%, Lynn at 60%, MES at 83%, and Spark at 64%. Another thing that they are working right now is that grandfathering would be possible for any children in 3rd through 5th grade. So what that would mean is anyone who's a current 1st grader or above could choose to grandfather into their current school. There are, well, I have a document that I'm going to drop in the comments. Some of it is no longer meaningful since the inman engagement sessions were today at 1 and today at 6:30, but that information is there. There are also focus groups from May 17th through the 20th. There's a sign up link there if anyone's interested. And then it also has the dates of the June 6th, June 23rd cluster advisory meeting, and then the August 8th vote. So I'm going to drop the document in the chat, and then anything that's underlined is a link so you can follow it. And then I'm also going to drop the proposed recommendation if any of you are interested in seeing that.
Great, thanks, Leah.
Thanks.
And thanks for staying on top of it.
No problem.
Okay, public safety.
Just a couple of quick things. ATAG is moving forward. We have a meeting this week at 5 o'clock on Wednesday, and that meeting is still virtual. You can find the information for the Zoom for those who want to observe the meeting on the city's calendar. But starting in June, we're required to meet in person. So we will be meeting downtown at City Hall. And we meet every 3 weeks. So that is all on the calendar online if you want to look. The second thing was just to mention that we had a very successful Porch Fest in the neighborhood this past weekend on Saturday. I did not hear any reports of safety related problems, but if anyone is aware of any problems, be it traffic or with other security issues, please give me a shout and let me know so that we can give that feedback to the organizers, as I'm sure this is going to continue. We'll have another Porch Fest next spring, probably. That's it.
Great, thank you. I do have a brief chair report. First, some good news. Music Midtown is providing NPU-F 100 complimentary tickets for their upcoming event. They've been providing complimentary tickets to the Midtown Neighbors Association for several years, and M&A has raffled those tickets as a fundraiser. If we want to do something like that, I will need a couple of folks to help come up with an equitable plan. If we go to a raffle route or a silent auction route, the neighborhoods that participate in coordinating the distribution of the tickets would receive the funds. So that's the incentive to get someone to help me. Second, I received a notice of approval for a buffer encroachment at 915 Cumberland Road Northeast. The approval was dated on April 29th, and there's 30-day appeal period. I'll be happy to share the notice to anyone that may be interested. I also received an informational SAP for 2069 Cheshire Bridge Road. That's where the Heretic is located. They're requesting shared parking with a new commercial recreational establishment, which I believe is a rehearsal studio. I'm still trying to confirm that with the architect. These two businesses will operate at different hours, and they're asking to share the parking so that one business will use it during the day and the other in the evening. And I've shared the SAP with neighborhoods and our planning team, so they've taken a look at that. If anyone's interested, I'll be happy to share that. And APAB meets next Saturday, so we will have a report on this month's meeting next month. And we will continue to meet virtually, since that seems to be the preference of those that are attending NPU-F meetings. Are there any questions or comments on any of the reports?
Did we skip the planner's report?
Yeah, I did that again. Doug, I'm so sorry. Doug, do you have a planner's report?
I do, Debbie. Thank you all for hanging in there to hear me out. Once again, my name is Doug Young. I'm the Assistant Director for the Office of Design, but I'm also the NPU-F assigned planner and have been working with you all for some time now. I do have a couple of quick announcements for you all's learning tonight. The first is NPU University is partnered with Invested Land to present Understanding Workforce Housing and Affordability. That was on May 12th of this month, but you can probably find more information about that and what was discussed at the NPU University website. I'll put that information in the chat. And then secondly, you can get onto a text message string by texting NPU Atlanta to 22828 to receive monthly updates and important announcements from the Department of City Planning and the Neighborhood Planning Units team. That information and details will be in the chat as well. But I've saved the best for last, which is that the Atlanta Urban Design Commission and the Department of City Planning are hosting their 44th Annual Design Awards, the first time back in person in about 2 years. That will be tomorrow night at 7 p.m. in City Hall. It is a free event open to the public. The presentation is quite nice, as well as a little reception afterwards that we'd like to host on behalf of our design professionals and whatnot in the city of Atlanta. It's very near and dear to my heart because I, till recently, ran the city's historic preservation operations. So please check that out. It'll also be the opportunity where you can see NPU-F's Community Design Award being presented and recognized by the city staff as part of that event. So tomorrow night, 7 o'clock, City Hall, and we will have both the presentation and reception there for you all to enjoy.
Great, thanks, Doug, and I apologize for missing you again.
That's all right.
Okay, any other business to come before the NPU tonight?
I would just remind folks that I put all the a lot of links and stuff I just put in the chat, so make sure you save that chat. 8 or 9 links and little tidbits of information there to check out.
Great, thanks. That's right. The chat can be saved by clicking on the 3 dots at the bottom of the box. Okay, last call. Any other business to come before the NPU? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So
So
moved.
moved.
I heard
Second.
Kate and Rich or whatever. Are there any objections to to ending this meeting?
Nary a one.
Nary a one. If not,
Thank
thank
you,
you all for
everybody.
coming, staying with the meeting. Thank you for some good dialogue, especially about Beltline Rail now. I appreciate it. And I will see you all next month.
Good night, all. Bye.
I'll
Thank
leave the room open for a little bit so people can get to the chat and save it. I guess I need to save the chat too.